Kingdom Hearts Prism, Chapter 7. It had been a warm, early summer night, the heat from the summer sun escaping in the night air, the sound of crickets chirping within the garden beds, and the water flowing out of the fountains had been the summer sounds of radiant gardens. The kingdom was rather quiet on such an evening, the gentle sounds of water and nature filling the void of activity throughout most of the castle's fine kingdom. Key word being most. In the castle town, down an alleyway, there had been quite a different sound filling the summer night air. Mainly the sound of cheering and steel clashing against steel. A metallic dragon worm colored in gold and silver colors slithered across the ground, dodging its foes' attacks and striking at the clamp-like hands with the sharp razor blade at the end of their tail, cutting an arm off and impaling their head on a tail spike, sparks flying as the result. The dragon's opponent fell limp, the remains tossed aside.
Ha! Not so tough, are ya?
Went the controller of the dragon, rubbing her nose at the dumbstruck controller of the opponent. The dragon bot slithered back to the cherry red-haired woman.
Ladies and gentlemen, the winner 17 times in a row, Cindy Cherry Bomb Garcia!
That's right, ladies!
Cindy went as she took the Mount sum of money from the covered dish the announcer took.
So, which one of you babies has the brass to come up against me next? Who wants to be unlucky number 18?
There had been a hushed silence over the crowd. Murmurs exchanged on whoever had a bot with them to go and challenge the fiery woman.
Excuse me, can I give it a try?
Came a meek voice, all the way at the back of the crowd. Cindy looked up, trying to see whoever had responded, her eyes focusing on a pair of two young men leaning on the wall, normal observers. She had known the redhead one to be trouble, though, in the bot fights.
Oi! Did you two chuckleheads say something?
The blue-haired boy had looked up at the remark, a neutral mask on his face.
Not us. Him.
That was until the crowd parted, revealing the wiry raven-haired boy that stood at the back with them, holding a dinky little robot with a goofy-looking smile on its face.
I said I'd like to try.
The boy stumbled over his words as he moved forward, holding on to the dinky little robot tightly. It was then that Cindy noticed that the little skinny boy had something, or someone, hiding behind his legs. A little girl barely older than 7 or 8, with pure white hair and big blue eyes that almost looked like sapphires in the distance. She had looked at the announcer and Cindy with cautious wide eyes, hands carefully clinging to the fabric of the boy's pants leg.
Is she with you?
Who? Oh, you mean Feely? Yeah, she is. She just gets all nervous around big crowds, that's all.
Aw, isn't that cute? The little man here brought his cute little sister and a dinky little toy. Ain't he precious?
That was when the crowd began to laugh, the young boy ducking his head a bit and blushing as the little girl, Feely he called her, clung tighter and hid further behind him.
Sorry, Junior. This ain't a sandbox you and your sister can play in freely. Gotta pay to play here.
Oh, well, if it's money you want, will this be enough?
With that, the boy reached into the pocket of his jacket and pulled out a large wad of cash. That had caught Cindy's attention, and she had given a wolfish grin at the boy.
What's your name, Junior?
Hiro? Hiro Hamada?
Alright then, prep your bod. Get your little sister off your leg and seat her in your lap. She's going to want a front row seat when I begin mopping the floor with you.
Hiro had set his bot down, and he began to sit down on the opposing side. Though the little girl had let out a nervous whine, he ruffled her hair in an assuring manner.
It's okay, Feely. It's not gonna be bad.
The little girl had seated herself within Hiro's crossed legs, fitting snugly and keeping her hands planted on her feet. Cindy had rolled her neck and shoulders, turning her head to the side and spitting on the ground. Amusingly, Hiro had followed suit, though the spitting had left a long loogie dangling rather than hit the ground, making the crowd laugh even more as Hiro brushed and wiped his mouth with the sticky spit. After putting in the money they had, the announcer had covered the dish once more, standing back.
You know the rules, contenders. 2 bots enter, 1 bot leaves.
Feely had looked up at Cindy and the dragon worm bot that she controlled with her wide, curious eyes, but hadn't said a word. Hiro had ruffled her hair again as he pulled out the remote for the bot out.
Ready! Fight!
Needless to say, it went quickly. Hiro's bot didn't even have a chance to do anything before the dragon worm sliced through it falling apart into 3 bisected pieces. The little girl cried out as the crowd began to laugh.
Aw, I'm sorry, Feely. I guess Bunny is bye-bye now.
Cindy said as Hiro stared dumbstruck at the remains of the bot, the cherry redhead claiming the money on the plate.
But wait, that was the first match. I have to go again, please.
Nobody likes a sore loser, sweetheart. Why don't you take you and your precious little sister to the Goofy Goober Club and go cry about it there?
But I have more money.
With that, Hiro pulled out the money pouch, heavy with cash.
Ha! Alright then, Junior. I guess you like double spots of being a failed contender.
Hiro had set in the money pouch as Cindy doubled her own portion, others following suit. The 2 boys in the back had paid attention closely, the redhead one mouthing something to his blue-haired friend, a cocky grin on his face. With that, Hiro had relaxed his body, rolling his neck and shoulders as he pressed a button. The robot's parts reassembled back into the original state they were in. Now Feely's eyes seemed to lose their nervousness and began glimmering with excitement.
Bunny.
Hiro expanded the remote, all nervousness and shyness leaving his features and being replaced with seasoned experience and an absolute devilish grin.
Destroy.
The sunny, goofy, grinning face had changed into a red, devilish grin, matching the controllers as it stood upright and charged in. While the dragon's warm movement and strikes were quick, Bunny was quicker, dodging the moves and taking out individual sections, removing the razor blade spike on its tail and dodging any move it made to bite the bot. When it reared up and tried to strike from behind, that was when Bunny had dodged, having positioned the detached spike to where it stood behind, and with it, the worm had impaled itself on the spike, sparks flying as the tip poked out from the top of its head. Hiro had done this with no expression of effort on his part, pressing the buttons during the fight as if they were routine clockwork for him. At the end, the whole crowd stood dumbstruck. The redhead had grumbled as he reached into his pocket and paid the blue-haired boy a small stack of cash, his companion finally cracking a smug grin. Once the fight was over, Bunny's face had switched back to its goofy grin, giving a bow as it then hopped into the little girl's arms, Hiro taking the money pouch and putting all of its earnings into it.
So much for unlucky number 18, huh? Thanks for the free show, though. I'm sure Feely loved seeing me mop the floor with you up close.
Hiro went, ruffling the little girl's hair.
Didn't you, Feely?
She had giggled and snuggled into the little robot as Hiro beamed a genuine grin at the little girl, pocketing the pouch and whatever earnings that couldn't fit in it. However, that grin quickly faded as Cindy pinned him to the wall, the little girl letting out a shriek when she was seized by a pair of men, obviously with Cindy. The white-haired girl struggled, resisting one man's attempt to grab the robot. Cindy pulled her free arm back, her hand curled into a fist.
I'm going to make you pay for that, you little sneaky rat! And trust me, it's going to hurt you more than it will me!
Hiro flinched as he tried to struggle away, but shut his eyes as he saw her fist heading for his face, bracing for the impact and being surprised when nothing connected. He opened his eyes to see a blue-haired, sea-green-eyed boy having caught Cindy's fist.
Beating up a boy and his little sister? I know you were a pitiful loser, but I suppose we've sunk into a new low.
He spoke in a calm, refined tone.
Butt out, Moon Boy! This little bastard is getting what he deserves!
And as are you.
With that, something had struck the arm that was keeping Hiro pinned to the wall. Cindy winced in pain as the boy took the opportunity to deliver a punch to the woman's face, cracking his knuckles.
Lee and I don't beat up girls, usually.
He said, his redhead companion grabbing the flying disc he threw and standing next to him, a cocky, eager grin on his face.
But hey, looks like you're one of the lucky exceptions to the rule.
Lee responded, reaching into his pocket and throwing down a small orb that went off with a loud bang. All at once, the crowd had scattered, and the two goons holding the girl dropped her in the smoke and confusion, letting out yelps of pain of their own. Hiro had taken the chance to sweep up the girl, Feely clinging to him as he did.
Hamada, you'd better beat it while I've got these morons distracted.
The blue-haired boy went, kicking one of the goons away with a swift jab to his stomach.
Thanks, Isa.
Isa punched another goon.
And Hamada?
He hadn't hesitated to pull out a cell phone in his pocket. Hiro's eyes widened at that.
You've got 15 minutes. Get going. Now.
The wiry young teen didn't miss a beat as he bolted out of the alleyway, the little girl in tow as he made his hasty retreat, not looking back. Isa rolled his eyes.
Smart loser.
With that, he shut his cell phone, the number he had reached earlier going with it, and got back into the fray. Hiro had managed to make his retreat to the Fountain Court, miles away from the district that the fight was in. While he wasn't physically strong, the little girl in his arms was amazingly lightweight for him to carry, having carried her halfway through the sprint and made her run with him the rest of the way. By the time they arrived in the Fountain Court, he was well-winded, plopping himself down on the steps of the stairway, Ophelia sitting by him.
Okay, that went a little haywire, but hey, we made more than I usually do on my own. Feeling?
Ophelia simply nodded, though Hiro's eyes instantly focused on the small red gashes on her arm. His grin turned into a worried expression as he went over to the girl and noticed that her eyes were welling up with tears. He had felt an immense amount of guilt build up inside of him. Ophelia had gotten hurt because of him. Now it was likely that she wouldn't even think of being near him after tonight, having scared the little girl for life. At least until he heard her say,
"Are you okay?
Huh?
Are you okay?"
Yeah, I'm fine. Feely, I'm so sorry.
"It's okay. I'm fine.
Ophelia said, some tears falling down her cheek.
I'm just being a big crybaby because they hurt."
Hiro winced at that.
Hey, you were pretty brave back there.
That's when he got an idea. He dug into the cargo pockets of his pants, pulling out a box of Band-Aids.
Hey, on a scale of 1 to 1,000,000, how much do the cuts hurt?
Ophelia had blinked up at Hiro, sniffing and rubbing her eyes.
3.
Ah, then I think I know just the Band-Aids that'll make those cuts feel better.
Hiro said as he pulled out 6 Band-Aids.
Just hold still and let Dr. Awesome do his work.
Ophelia couldn't help but giggle, holding still for Hiro as he put the Band-Aids on her, switching to get to the other cuts once he put 3 of them on the cuts on one arm.
"Hiro?
Yeah, Feels?
Do you mean it? When you called me when you called me sister?"
Hiro blushed as he finished applying the Band-Aids.
Well, it was what everyone else was assuming. Had to follow suit, you know?
"Oh."
Ophelia went, sounding a little disappointed as she hugged Bunny, her eyes less watery.
"I don't mind if you call me your sister. I've always wanted a brother."
Hiro blushed again.
I don't know. The king of the nerds might be a better choice. I make a really dorky big brother anyways.
"I don't think you and Dashi are dorky. And..."
Ophelia had mumbled off, hugging her knees a bit.
Hey, don't mumble when you talk to someone. They can't hear you if you don't speak up.
"I think you'd make a cool big brother."
The raven-haired boy's ears turned red at that, looking to the side and beginning to change the subject.
Listen, I know tonight was kind of scary, but if you want, I could take you back home tonight so you don't have to get scared or hurt again.
"Scared? I wasn't scared."
Ophelia said, rubbing her eyes again.
"I'm sorry I couldn't help you when Miss Cindy pinned you at the wall."
Hey, it's fine. You're still a little kid. I don't need you to protect me, but I appreciate the thought. I guess I wouldn't mind a little nerd like you to follow me around to bot fights. Just stick close to me so nothing bad happens, okay?
Hiro said as he ruffled her hair, putting the Band-Aid box back in his pocket.
Kay!
Ophelia said, beaming a smile up at Hiro as they both stood up.
Alright, come on, Feely. If we can sprint, we can make it to the next one in the district across from here.
Kay! Race ya!
With that, Ophelia had sprinted up the stairs with a giggle, still holding Bunny. Hiro had followed, grinning as he tried to keep up, something that was often in vain since the little girl was way faster than he was when she ran, but he still kept up to where he could see her in front of him. The air was tense in the room, Ophelia leaning on the wall while Hiro sat in his chair. Both of them did not break eye contact with one another, Ophelia holding her arms and not saying a word. The ticking from the clock in the bedroom hadn't helped matters either. Both stared at one another in silence.
Alright, I'm tired of waiting around. I'm gonna ask outright, and you better not lie to me.
Hiro said, tapping his fingers on the desk.
How do you know Tadashi?
Ophelia looked away at that.
It's complicated.
Don't give me that.
Well, I'm being honest about it. It's complicated. Hard for you to wrap your head around, okay?
Ophelia said, rubbing the bridge of her nose.
I'm having a hard time wrapping my head over you in general.
Hiro said, beginning to pace.
First, you tell us you don't know anybody in this city, yet you know who I am. Not just heard about you on the news. You personally know me. How can you say you don't know this city, yet know me? I don't even know you personally. Maybe I could let it slide, but you...
He pointed an accusing finger at Ophelia.
You know Tadashi. Something about you is fishy, and I'm not liking it at all.
Well, excuse me for being cautious.
Ophelia mumbled under her breath.
Hey, don't mumble when you...
When you talk to someone, they can't hear you if you don't speak up.
Ophelia snapped, irritably. Hiro stared at her, dumbstruck.
Oh, don't give me that look. It was obvious, as plain as the nose on your face. So what if I mumble? What of it? I don't nag you about all of your secrets and personal knowledge, do I?
Ophelia said, covering her mouth when she realized what tone of voice she had taken with Hiro. Hiro's frown deepened, but he had relaxed a bit, crossing his arms and donning a serious expression.
You don't... No, but you're still avoiding the truth. If you want me to trust you, you need to be honest with me.
Ophelia shifted uncomfortably.
I already told you, it's complicated. I'm being honest when I say I don't even know a thing about this city. I can't even remember how I got here in the first place. And if you want to know why I'm so mumsy around you, it's because you...
What?
Ophelia's expression changed from unsure to infuriated.
You just bring up bad memories, okay?
Ophelia had bluffed.
Bad memories? Bad memories?
Hiro was now standing on his toes to be eye level with her.
I don't even know who you are. I don't even think we've met, yet you know me like you do, or act like it. Out with it. Are you some sort of spy? A thief? Some sort of professional con artist? Who sent you and why?
Ophelia's eye twitched.
Did you just call me a...
Ophelia took a deep breath, pushing the bridge of her glasses up as she remained calm, even with the two now nose to nose.
I'm not a thief, nor a con artist.
Then are you a spy?
No!
Then why do you know Tadashi?
Clean your ears out. I said it's complicated.
Bullshit!
Don't you freaking swear, you little brat.
Don't tell me what to do, skunkhead!
Now it was very rare for Ophelia to lose her calm, but as the moment stood, Hiro was doing the impossible and wearing her patience thin. He and his friends, who were now waiting in the garage, had no idea how he had figuratively lit the fuse of a large powder keg.
Jeez, it sounds intense up there.
Wasabi said, busying himself by organizing some of the tools in the garage.
Are you sure we should just stay down here and let Hiro handle this face-to-face? I mean, because it's beginning to sound like a really bad idea.
All 5, including Baymax, had been waiting in the garage, a radio on the computer desk that had been interconnected with an audio bug that Hiro had made himself. The plan was simple. Hiro would get the truth out of her by means of an interrogation. And if it turned out that Hiro's suspicions were correct, that Ophelia was a thief/con artist, or a spy sent to steal blueprints of his inventions, or any blueprints that Tadashi had made in the past, the rest of the team would be witnesses and have her caught red-handed.
I kind of agree with Wasabi. I mean, Ophelia seems like a really nice girl. What if Hiro's wrong about her being some sort of thief?
Honey said, keeping her eyes on the radio.
Then how come she knows Tadashi? Regardless if she's a thief or not, she needs to woman up and fess up on that tidbit.
Go-Go chewed her gum and began subtly messing up whatever order Wasabi had in place on the opposite desk, out of idle boredom.
Maybe Hiro misheard her. She might have said another name that sounded similar.
That would be an unlikely chance. Then again, when she said it, Hiro was the only one there. Still, she does know him, somehow, whether or not he misheard her.
Maybe she meant an entirely different person.
Surprisingly, the only other person who hadn't said a word on the matter was Fred. Fred was reading a graphic novel, yes, but normally he would have had a couple of theories to share on such a mystery. While he was reading his graphic novel, he had a studious, thoughtful look on his face. The gears were turning in his head, and it, combined with the book in his hands, kept him quiet.
Fred?
He looked up from the graphic novel he was reading.
You haven't said anything since you got here. Something wrong?
No, nothing's wrong, man. I'm just trying to figure out the mystery of Feels.
Feels? Is that what you're calling her now?
Yeah, not my best, but it's kind of a working title thing.
Fred said with a shrug.
It's just, I know what we know about her. It's familiar, but I need to think extra hard in order to string the story together, right?
Go-Go blew a bubble and rolled her eyes.
Or you're taking too long on thinking on it, 'cause your brain melts when you think about her.
That got Fred to blush.
Whoa. Okay, Feels is pretty, but there's yet to be a girl to trip old player Fred up massively.
Whatever you say, you lovesick nerd.
Fred had went back to his graphic novel, ears and face redder than a tomato. That's when it clicked in his head.
Guys, I think I know the answer to this little mystery,
he said eagerly, as he reached to his bag, pulling out the other graphic novels that he had brought along, handing them to the others.
The fantastic Lady Scarlet?
Actually, Lucinda Lunaris, an amnesiac who was found on the shores of Crimson City Beach, sent to the real world from her home due to a dark, mysterious force attacking it.
Phantom Driver?
Danielle Anderson, ordinary high school student who ends up in a different world with powers and no memory on how she got there.
Skywing and the aerial wing. Fred, point please.
Isn't it obvious? Ophelia looks ordinary, but there's more to her. She's acting secretive because she has something major to hide. But it's not some kind of nefarious plot.
Everyone could see that Fred was getting overly excited.
Guys, can't you see? This is leading up to one conclusion. Ophelia Kisame, mild-mannered barista and lost newcomer to San Fransokyo, is a...
Before Fred could reveal the end of his conclusion, a loud sound of a crash and a loud thud blared from the radio, catching everyone's attention as the sound of two young people swearing and insulting each other filled the garage. They had spent a good passing moment staring at each other dead on. Ophelia, however, took a deep breath and closed her eyes, relaxing as the anger that was beginning to burn began simmering down. She unclenched her jaw and uncurled her fists. This wasn't something she wanted.
I don't have to answer to this. You don't have to worry any longer. I'm gonna leave.
What?
Hiro had seemed to be taken aback.
I am not stooping to your level, Hiro Hamada. So congratulations. I'm leaving, and I'm going to do so before I...
Ophelia hesitated, slightly choking on the word.
hurt your feelings more.
Hiro frowned at that, grabbing Ophelia's arm before she could go down the stairway. In that instant, Ophelia froze.
Hiro, let go of my arm.
Not until you give me answers. I said you're not leaving until you tell me the truth. So if you want me to let you go, you better start talking, you liar.
It had struck a nerve. Ophelia was used to being called many things. Crybaby, coward, witch. She was miffed at being called a spy, and annoyed at being called a thief and a con artist. And she did not ever tolerate the accusation of being called a liar from anyone, not even from Hiro.
I'm going to give you to the count of 7 for you to take that back,
she said, her natural tone masking the fury that was beginning to burn. Hiro gave her a cocky grin, unaware of what was about to happen.
What? Does the truth hurt that bad, little Miss Liar?
Call me a liar. One more time.
Hey, you are what you are, you little...
Hiro had barely any time to react when Ophelia had flipped around and punched Hiro. Not slapped, not hit, punched, and had proceeded to tackle the boy to the ground, angry beyond belief. Ophelia was never the strongest in muscle when compared to her bruiser-class members of her friends. She herself was more of a graceful sword fighter and strong spellcaster in comparison to the lighting tank that was Webb's raw physical strength. But in the case of Hiro, in all of his 5-foot glory, whose rare muscles had come from his favored pastime of playing soccer, Ophelia, 5'4", with muscles of a ballet dancer in comparison, might as well have been a gorilla who did super wrestling as a day job in comparison. The two had fought one another and wrestled each other down the stairs and into the living room. And it wasn't a clean fight either. Biting, scratching, cussing, yelling. The only thing neither one of them did was grab the nearest object and use it as a blunt weapon against one another.
Sweater-wearing, four-eyed, skunk-hair piece of shit nerd!
Shut up, you tiny smartass!
Thief!
Hothead!
You are such a pain!
So are you! Ow, you tooth beaver!
Hiro's face went beet red.
You take that back!
When you take the liar statements back, I will, you freaking beaver!
That was when Hiro bit Ophelia's arm again, both of them rolling around on the ground, when a pair of strong arms pulled her off Hiro, another pair restraining the smaller teen.
You two knuckleheads, stop it right now!
Gogo shouted, keeping Hiro restrained as he struggled against her grip. Ophelia was still seeing red, anger flooding her mind as she struggled against Wasabi's hold on her.
I won't stand to be called a liar by anybody. Do you hear? No one calls me a liar and gets away with it.
Like I said, don't like hearing the truth, you sneaky liar.
Shut the hell up!
Ophelia sprung out of Wasabi's grip like an angry wildcat and tackled Hiro. No one was able to get them apart as they resumed fighting one another, Hiro losing badly. Ophelia then had Hiro pinned to the ground, straddling him and keeping a hand on his chest, her entire body shaking as she glared daggers at him, her eyes burning with anger and rage.
You want to know what I think of you?
Ophelia drew her fist back, Hiro's eyes widening as he noticed it out of the corner of his vision, though he still kept a defiant glare.
You're...
But as quickly as those flames were ignited, they were quickly put out. Confusion replaced the expression on his face when Ophelia had frozen mid-punch, still shaking. Her head filled with a dull throbbing ache. In place of the anger was remorse and self-loathing at her actions. She had lowered her fist and then let Hiro go, getting off of him as her body began going so numb. Everyone just stared at the shaking girl, the bruise on her cheek and the lens of her glasses broken. She had looked at everyone with dull, frightened eyes, holding herself as she began to back up.
Ophelia.
Ophelia had found herself backing up into Baymax, who seemed to reach out to Ophelia in the means to give her a hug. Ophelia quickly moved away, as if the gesture was threatening her life. Hiro had gotten up, staring at her as the others did. He began pushing his bangs up out of his face as it dawned onto him how tired, how scared, and terrified she looked at the current moment. Did he go too far? He had taken a step closer to her, and instantly she stepped back, hunched up as if he was going to hurt her the moment he touched her again.
Ophelia, listen,
Ophelia kept backing up.
Don't come any closer.
Her voice was breaking, shaking.
Please, I'm begging you. Don't come any closer.
Ophelia.
Turning on her heel, she ran away, prying the door open and not stopping, the pulsing in her head and heart still aching and throbbing as she did. She didn't care that she didn't know where she was going. She just needed to get away. It had become too much for her. Her heart began wishing that this experience was nothing but a horrible dream she was having, but she paid no mind to it. She just kept running. Running away seemed to be the only thing she could do right without being such a total screw-up. It left a numbing bitter taste in her mouth, and that bitterness only mixed with the saltiness of the tears that began to fall. From that night onward, Hiro had opted to bring Ophelia along to his bot fights, on days where she would stay with them in an overnight plan. Miraculously, as far as being caught by Tadashi went, he managed to always sneak the fact that Ophelia was with him right under his and his aunt's nose. It helped that she was beginning to learn how to use teleporting magic too, courtesy of Master Durwood's lessons. But it had remained a well-kept secret that he had gained a little partner in his nights out. The schedule was routine and simple. After a couple of fights, he'd get her home or to the apartment to sneak her in before Tadashi or Aunt Cass noticed that she was missing. And once she was in the clear, he'd go to catch a couple more fights before coming back himself. Sometimes, if the king of the nerds was working overtime in his lab, or was helping his aunt with beat poetry night, they'd just goof around and enjoy the nightlife of Radiant Gardens had to offer, after outrunning the loser of that night's fight. Sure, betting on bot fights was illegal, but it was so lucrative. The thrill, the adrenaline, the earnings. Though he had went through the routine motion on his own, having Ophelia around. Somehow, having someone to fight for, to keep her safe from any grubby goon that'd lay a finger on the girl, even if he got the shit kicked out of him as he motioned to defend her. Someone who cheered him on enthusiastically and looked up to him. It made the bot fights more exhilarating. It felt like he was doing it more for her, more than he was doing it for the money, for the plain entertainment. Which is why whenever one win went horribly awry for him, he felt like he had failed her. He lied there on the ground, bruises forming all over him, hood raised. Everything hurt, and all he could manage was to curl up into a ball, hoping that the pain would stop from getting worse. When one goon had delivered another blow to his stomach, that was when the little girl got between the curled-up teen and the imposing thugs.
Move it, pipsqueak, if you know what's good for ya.
Ophelia was shaking, ready to cry in fear, but she stood, adamant, and wearing her bravest face.
I said, leave my big brother alone!
She had called upon all the memories of Riku and Sora, her friends from the island, standing up against the bullies that decided to hurt her. Wooden swords drawn and refusing to stand down. She called upon their bravery, hoping theirs would strengthen hers. Even if she was the biggest crybaby in the world, she did not tolerate anyone hurting Hiro. She preferred being beat up herself rather than stand by on the sidelines and watch someone she cared about getting hurt by others. When one man grabbed her by the scruff of her shirt, Hiro had shakily and weakly cried out for them to put her down, to leave her alone. But it had come to the man's surprise when she stabbed at his hand by making a little crystal spike stick out of the shoulder where his hand was closest to. And once he dropped her, that was when she used Quake. She was only 7, so her little spell wouldn't cause as much damage as if she were older. But the tremors, and the girl's eyes glowing with the same aura radiating from the crystal on her chest, had been enough to intimidate the thugs as she screamed.
You leave my big brother alone!
Her crystal chest had taken a darker tint as the aura finally died down, and she had gotten down on her knees next to the bruised and beaten and crumpled up heap that was Hiro.
Big brother?
Hiro hadn't responded to her, other than managing a weak wince.
Big brother?
She pulled the hood back carefully and winced. His left eye was swollen and shut, and there was a nasty gash on his nose. She had seen bruises on his legs, and she didn't want to know about the multiples that were hidden by his clothes. He pulled back up the hood, tearing up a bit from the pain, and not really wanting the white-haired girl to see.
Big brother?
He'd found himself staring at those wide, sapphire blue eyes.
On a scale of 1 to 1,000,000, how much does it hurt?
Hiro had weakly mumbled out.
1,000,000,000,000.
Ophelia smiled and began to pull the hood back.
Let me make it feel better.
With that, Ophelia began pulling out band-aids from his pants pocket and began applying them to the gash. He had shut his eyes as she did, too weak to really shoo her away about it. It was then that he felt something warm and soft touch the gash, and then his swollen eye. A strange tingling warmth spread out of those areas through his body. He didn't hurt anymore. Sure, he still felt sore, but the soothing feeling removed the intense pain that was there before. He was surprised when he found that he could open his swollen eye along with his uninjured one. He was even more surprised when he managed to catch his reflection when he got off the ground and stood up. Both eyes were normal, though there was still a red ring of the one that was originally swollen, which meant a bruise would most likely form there later. Aside from that, and the bandage on his nose, he hadn't looked as worse from where as he originally did. Ophelia merely smiled up at him as he stared back down at her.
Feel better?
Yeah, I feel much better feeling.
The aqueduct's inner passageways were a quiet place to sneak off to, if one wanted to see the sight of the kingdom from the top of the wall. Normally, maintenance people were there, but only during the daytime. During the night, however, it was quiet and empty. No one would notice the young preteen and the little girl with him slumped into the place and hanging around. The cold water had felt good on Hiro's feet and legs, having removed his shoes and sitting on the edge of the walkway, with his bare feet and legs submerged in the rushing water. He had let out a sigh of relief. Ophelia sat next to him, swinging her legs as she snuggled Bunny, both of them sitting in silence and staring out of the starry night sky above them.
Hiro,
Yeah?
maybe we should stop going bot fighting?
Ophelia said, snuggling Bunny closer to her chest. Hiro had looked at her, taking a deep breath, and said nothing in response.
Dashi's gonna get really worried if you keep coming back hurt.
What am I gonna do if I stop? Go to his nerd school like he does to learn stuff I already know?
Hiro had said with a slightly cocky tone to his voice. Ophelia looked down, swinging her legs.
But you'd get hurt less if you did.
Ophelia said quietly.
Mama always told me that if wanna be safe, I do stuff that'll make sure I get hurt less.
Well, that's your mom, not mine.
Ophelia looked at Hiro curiously.
Then what does your mama say?
I don't know. She and Dad died when I was 3.
Hiro had said nonchalantly, as if he were stating the weather outside. Ophelia had went quiet, frowning a little and looking down. Hiro had realized what he had said to Ophelia and suddenly flustered.
Hey, it's okay. I'm sorry. You don't need to feel bad.
You can have my mommy and daddy.
What?
Hiro was utterly surprised by the little girl's response.
You and Dashi can share my mommy and daddy.
Ophelia went, blushing a bit.
Everyone needs a mommy and daddy. My mommy would get mad if you sneak out at night, but she always make you feel better if you came down with a cold and give you kisses when you feel down. And my daddy says a lot of daddy words, and he ain't a hole.
Ophelia had pressed at her right arm at that statement.
Ever since that shark ate his arm for a snack, but he tells amazing stories, and he always gives good advice if you need it.
Ophelia had mumbled off, blushing.
And If you and Dashi have the same mommy and daddy that I do, you and Dashi would be my brothers for real.
Hiro couldn't help but laugh.
Well, we be more your stepbrothers than your real brothers.
Ophelia shook her head.
Not stepbrothers. Mommy always said that the ones you love are always family, even if they got a different last name than you.
Hiro's cheeks flushed red. Ophelia loved him and Tadashi? Granted, like a little sister loves her big brother. Hiro blushed more. All those times she had called him her big brother. She meant them, didn't she? It was then that Ophelia let out a little gasp.
Hiro, look!
He looked up at the sky to see a shower of shooting stars, cascading down the beautiful night sky. Ophelia bounced giddily as she closed her eyes, making a wish on the falling stars as they poured down. Hiro looked up, watching the stars shooting by. He closed his eyes, feeling a bit foolish, as he tuned the noises of the night out around him.
Big brother?
Hiro blinked, snapping out of the serene daze he was in, looking down to see Ophelia's hand in his, the little girl's eyelids drooping, a yawn escaping from her mouth.
Time to head back, huh?
Ophelia nodded as Hiro smirked, putting his socks and shoes back on without another word. Then he picked her up and carried her on his shoulders, something that was surprisingly easy for him to do, since Ophelia was a lightweight of a little girl. Walking down the aqueduct's walkway, back down to the fountain court, Ophelia resting her head on the top of his, still holding Bunny in her left hand. He could probably pass off Ophelia having slept downstairs when he got home from the bot fight that went a bit foul. He was going to have such a scolding from Tadashi about that. He knew it. But the little girl on his shoulders, no, his little sister, made it all worth it.